an 800 count BCW box is basically perfect for 5 sleeved commander decks. I'm going to show you guys my Nicol Bolas today because after 40 rounds I have got my 2026 Commander Champion. Because I have 36 commanders, which is the number I chose so I could tournament it down, I have a 930 count box for Commander Box 7 for numbers 31 through 36. However, Commander Box 7, when I reorganized so all of my shelves could fit into, all my stuff could fit into my cabinet, just does not fit in the cabinet. So I could cut one commander deck. I considered that. Or I could go up to 48 commanders instead. Miniature cabinet haul. Got all my cubes up there. Well, I got half of my cubes up there. That's my sealed product. Shout out to my local game store because these are indisputably the coolest store champion prizes ever. Like, yeah, the full art promo is cool, but this, I got 3 of these. I got that one. I really wanted to get the Final Fantasy one, but sometimes you can't win them all. I got an Edge of Eternity. That's got some dice or something in it. Okay, moving on. This is my junk rare cube. It's 640 cards. It also does not, so it sits in here sideways. I have no way to resection that and keep it all in the same box. All right, moving on. Since I went up to 36 commanders, or 48 from 36, I had to restructure which commanders go in which boxes. And I used these cards. They're just randomized. So that's Geist of Saint Trap. That's my worst one. And he's kind of on the chopping block because he's just really bad in 4-player pods. Then I got the bracket number there, and otherwise it's like a proxy. But the sleeve has a number on it. Not the card, but the sleeve itself. And that is essentially my power rankings. So, and that will dictate. So Commander Box 1 has Commanders 1 through 5 in it. So, I had a 48 commander tournament where I did 16 games in pods of 3, and then that 16 got the branch down to 4, and then to a champion, which was Nicol Bolas this time around. Last time, when I only had 36, my winner was Progenitus, and the time before that, when I only had 20 commander decks, it was Arcanus the Omnipotent. This time it was Nicol Bolas. But I ended up playing the loser brackets out too. And it was a bunch of fun. Commander's actually almost more fun when the decks are super known, like amongst each other, because I could have huge power mismatches, like a CEDH deck versus some junk decks. And each of the junk decks isn't confused about who they need to kill as fast as possible before it's too late. Anyway, my Nicol Bolas deck won. It's one of my original 10, and it's also one of my favorites. And it is pretty good, and I thought I'd just show it off. All right, so Nicol Bolas, if you've never seen this guy, although most people have, is an actual Elder Dragon. You don't get a lot of those. He costs 8. Oh, that's blurry. Fix yourself. Focus. I don't know if it's going to focus. Hold on a second. Anyway, if you've never seen this guy before, he costs 8 mana, which is absurd. He's a 7/7, which is nice because 3 hits and you're dead, which is what a lot of my favorite commanders are. They are 7 power, kill you in 3 hit kind of guys. That's what I like to look for. And He says whenever an opponent is damaged by them, they discard their hand, and this is important because it is not combat damage. And so sometimes you can get some really just fun interactions with that. We got a Night Veil Spectre. This is kind of like a medium early card to play for value. We got a Solemn Simulacrum, just, colorless ramp for a non-green deck. We got a Gaehon, whatever this is, Dihada. Gaedron Dihada. And this was pretty clutch in my last game because the Hogak player put a 8/8 Villas in play, and then it was like I was able to act a trees in that, kill another small thing, draw 4 cards, hit that player for lethal. The other 2 players just weren't putting that kind of pressure on yet. And we've got a Nicol Bolas. He flips into a Planeswalker. This is just, it's not just like a super on theme deck, but yeah, we are playing a bunch of Bolas Planeswalkers. Here's another one. And there's kind of like mid-rangey cards. They're not actually even that great in this deck. Well, the bigger ones are pretty fine if the game goes long. They're just like sweet top decks. And they have good value, and like this one's like Mind Rot on each opponent, can be pretty cool. They're just generally good effects. It's one of the few ways we have to blow an enchantment up on the board. So we got a handful of Bolas Planeswalkers. And we've got a Fevered Visions, which is usually not that good for a control deck to like give everybody the cards, but it gives them to them on their end step, which means if we are in a late game situation and I'm just threatening to make them discard their hand on their turn, this is a good, of one of the ones where we give everyone cards, this is probably my choice one. And it also just can casually get 6 to 8 damage in on people that are playing with a big hand. So it kind of encourages people to put their stuff on the board, which is good if we're, we want them to overcommit to the board so we can kill all that stuff. Got a Lightning Greaves. This is our Haste Shroud option. We're not playing a lot of things to improve the Bolas, but this is one of them. And then there's Dragon Tempest, which also gives Thief of Sanity haste, which is kind of fun. But the other thing it does is when it enters, Nicol Bolas will deal 1 damage to target player usually, because I have 1 dragon that I control, and that'll make them discard their hand. And then it gives them haste, so if there's 2 players left at that point, I can get them both empty-handed. So with like a Dragon Tempest in play, instead Psych Rift all their stuff, and then like play a Bolas, you discard your hand, attack you, you discard your hand. Pretty sweet in this deck. And go over some of our card draw filler options. We got a Ponder, we got a Brainstorm, we got a Preordain. Those are good little 1-mana smoothers for early turn, but also good at finding a big card for late turn. Factor Fiction, which is really good in here because while we don't reanimate creatures, we have some kind of cheat spells from our graveyards cards. So a lot of times if Fact reveals something like Expropriate, it doesn't, if they don't have the counter magic, it doesn't matter what they're going to do. I'm going to kill them with that card. We got an Ancient Excavation. This is a land cycler, but also just a pretty decent draw discard spell. And then one of my favorite tutors, which is Invent, search for a sorcery and an instant. So I can usually grab a big Haymaker sorcery and like Force of Will to back it up. Or, it just grabs a little bit of interaction for right now if I'm behind, and like maybe a sweeper on the following turn. Just a really good value card. We've got we'll go through the sorcery removal. We got a Vandal Blast. It's pretty simple. 1 for 1 is good when you need it, and all their stuff for 5 is also good when it's good. Got a Dreadbore. This isn't really too exciting, but as with sweepers and stuff, there's not a ton of Planeswalker answers. It's nice to play one. Obviously, Molten Collapse is better, but Molten Collapse is playable and like not really in standard right now, but like Pioneer decks and stuff, and occasionally like has modern playability. And I don't really play my modern Pioneer cards in my commander decks. My commander decks are all built with just the cards I got laying around that aren't doing anything else. Got a Breath of Dargaz, probably one of my favorite sweepers. So you can deal 1 damage to everything for 2, which is like under a Pyroclasm, but then it scales up to 4 on 4. And that's usually really nice. You usually catch a lot of stuff on that. We got Deliver Unto Evil. We're actually playing a bunch of Bolas Planeswalkers, so sometimes this is just 4 regrowths for 3 mana, which is insane. But when it's not, it's get 2 of your best 4 cards in your graveyard back. It's still really solid, even without a Bolas Walker on the table. And it does just kind of fit the scene. Like, I'm playing this dragon, and we're doing Bolas stuff. Rags to Riches is a pretty poor sweeper on the front side, but in the graveyard side, each opponent gives you a creature. It doesn't come up hardly ever. In fact, I don't know if I've ever actually even done it, but I've really thought about doing it, and I'm probably going to leave it in here till I do it. And I can't say I've never played Rags to kill relevant stuff. That wouldn't be true. I don't know if I've ever cast the Riches side, actually. But the fact that I could flip that off of like a Factor Fiction or draw and discard it, like, seems good. And, and if they only have one really good creature in play, you take it. And then we got a Damnation, just a solid sweeper. We got a Fiery Confluence. It's quasi-sweeper. It can also blow up to 3 artifacts, so that's nice. And then we've got Destroy All Dragons or Destroy All Non-Dragons. Dragons is actually enough of a creature type in Commander that this card can be really awkward sometimes, but it's got Bolas in the art, and it's a sweeper, and it also doesn't kill Bolas if he's on the table when we're doing these things, so it's pretty sweet. We got Enter the God Eternals. It's 4 damage to a creature, and you gain that 4 life. And then you mill any player for 4, which oftentimes is going to be us. And then you amass 4. And it's just kind of like a mid-rangey, make something threat. It's fine. It's not too exciting. We got Twisted Justice. This is one of my favorite cards. And it's funny, I've never played the Rags to like steal good stuff. But I have consistently played Twisted Justice and like drawn 6 cards and killed the commander or whatever. It's clunky, but usually people aren't stopping you, like if you're hitting somebody who's got the mana to react or whatever, but it gets around Heroic Intervention, and a lot of this protection stuff's like indestructible hexproof. And so this still gets them, especially on like the big Voltron guys, like someone just loading up a Year Old Miststalker or something. This is a good removal spell. We've got a Blasphemous Sack. This is just one more sweeper that's sorcery speed. All right, now onto the instant speed ones. This deck actually only has 2 game changers in it, and this is one of them. We got the Cyclonic Rift, bounce all the stuff, and it's just, it would be hard to not play this card in this deck because he makes people discard their hands. It's like uniquely good here. So being one of the earlier commander decks, because I probably have like 15 to 20 different blue decks, and I think I only have Psych Rift in 2 or 3 because I just don't have a billion Psych Rifts laying around. But yeah, this is one of the decks that gets to play with the Psych Rift. We got Terminate, just another nice instant speed, just deal with something. And we got a Repulse, bounce something, draw a card. This is often better than destroying a thing. A lot of times when you go to destroy something, they'll either fight to keep it on the table, which you don't really... a lot of times with Repulse, you're like, you know what? Whatever. I'll just replay it. But buying the time is often all you need to really turn the table. So I think Repulse is a really good meta call for decks playing blue. And when you're sitting up with this instant speed removal and your mana's up, not usually in my tables because it's just a matter of like, who is the problem? Just attack them anyway, make them burn their cards. But in some tables... they'll attack who's tapped out, so kind of buy some tempo that way too. This is draw 3 and then look at the top 2, 1 in hand, 1 in graveyard. Is this better than Prophetic Bolt? Probably not. It is 1 mana cheaper, and a lot of times it's just kind of nice. I've had a lot of times where it always feels good when I play it, but there probably are just better things I could play in the same slot, doing the same thing. We got an evacuation, just one more instant speed sweeper, which really plays well into Bolas and the whole hand discarding thing. All right, now on to the counter magic. This is our other game changer. We got a Force of Will. I used to play Legacy, and I actually have 2 play sets of Force of Will. So I have Force of Will just kind of sitting in a lot of decks because I don't have the opportunity to really play Legacy anymore. So my Legacy cards just kind of sit in Commander decks until the time arises. We got Dispel. I think that one's super underrated. It's a lot of 1-mana counter magic that goes around. But this one just plays well in CEDH pods, and it plays well in non-CEDH. Like it's always nabbing something relevant. Got Disdainful Stroke, Negate, Arcane Denial, Remand. We like all these ones that aren't double blue because we're a Grixis deck. And I think these are probably the best 2-mana counter spells. This plus like Memory Lapse and Mana Leak are the ones we're not playing, but those are the ones that I would say are really good. We're playing a Shadow of Doubt. This card's sweet. It's pretty clutch in our... I don't know how much it really mattered, but I nabbed an early fetch against a Niv Mizzet player, which was the only other player at the final pod that was like I'm going to combo off deck. So that felt good. We are still playing Counterspell. Supposedly this is like kind of a fancy promo. I can't even quite remember where I got this Counterspell, and it's by far not my favorite art, but it's just the arts I do like. I think my favorite art is Tempest art, and I have 4, so it's like those are the ones that go on my modern deck, and so it's getting something else. We got Supreme Will. You can like Mana Leak or Dig. Oh, we got more we got counter a creature spell, draw a card. Just kind of nice when you're also drawing cards while you go counter draw a card, and then they draw a card too. Some decks you can counter your own spells, draw 2 cards. We don't really have any spells in our deck that we're going to do that with, but it's just nice to keep the cards rolling so you can keep doing what you're doing. This is also counter draw, but it can also be counter bounce. It can be tap all your guys, draw a card, tap all your guys, bounce something. Really versatile. All right, now we're getting into the Haymaker sorceries. We got a Mnemonic Trail. Late game, you have a lot of mana. Your opponent's graveyards might just have things that can win the game. This card has consistently been really impressive. It's basically a Yawgmoth's Will on each opponent's graveyard for a turn. I think they're relatively cheap too. This card is sweet though, and I would highly recommend it for big mana strategies that can play it. We got a Mizzix Mastery. This card is nuts with the Haymakers we're going to get to, but also just playing a lot of these little value spells over. We run very little creatures, and it also has the early mana play of like, I just need a sweeper right now to stay alive. And then the overload on 8 can usually constitute like a game over situation, especially if they fought tooth and nail to like counter an expropriate or something, and then you get to do this. It's pretty nice. Until they started playing it in Pioneer, I used to have a Narset's Reversal in this deck, and like playing it expropriate and then watching them try and counter it, and then a Narset's Reversal and like resolve one but put the other one back in my hand. Oh my goodness. But Narset's Reversal had to go into decks I actually play. Here's the Sins of the Past. This is the more expensive. Ravnica's when I started playing. This is a very heavy played card. And there's a really dumb enchantment from Ravnica too called Eye of the Storm. And that was like one of my first. I didn't really play Standard at the time, but I guess I sort of could have built a Standard version. But Eye of the Storm whenever you play a spell, you like exile it, and then you copy every spell that's been exiled into it so far. And with Sins of the Past, if you have a big graveyard, it's like Sins of the Past gets exiled, you cast it, and then it targets a spell in your graveyard to cast for free. You cast that gets exiled, and it plays both of them. So you get the Sins another thing, and you basically like just Yawg's Will your whole graveyard out, except the one you played first would get copied for each other spell that you can put behind it. So you would like Sins of the Past to walk the Aeons and then hit a bunch of other random spells that like draw cards and stuff, or bounce permanents. Like Clutch the Undercity was like bounce a permanent and they lose 3 life. And you would like bounce 6 of their permanents and take 7 extra turns and draw 20 cards. Yeah, it was sweet. I mean, our decks were bad, and you had to like get to like this 7 mana enchantment. Oh, so much fun. That's 2005 for you. Mirari Conjecture can return an instant and then a sorcery and then double spells, which is sweet. This card's also like pretty cheap, and I've just a lot of times like getting 5 of something crazy is crazy, and like some cards really play into themselves, like Scourge of Valkus or whatever, like does damage per dragons in play, and if they all see 5 entering at the same time, like each one of them is doing like 25 damage on dragon triggers. So you get like 125 damage on the spot. It's pretty sweet. That may or may not have happened in one of the earlier pods. We got a Cruel Ultimatum. It's one of my favorite Grixis cards ever. I played a lot of this standard. I played a lot of Jund, but I brewed with a lot of Cruel Ultimatums because I was trying to like not play Jund, but that was just never not the right thing to do. Jund deck was so good in that standard. And we got Rise of Dark Realms, like just grab all the creatures. A lot of times this can win the game on the spot. And Expropriate, also the other game changer. Well, it's not a game changer actually, and I thought it was, and so I think they took this off the list. But yeah, another big, really dumb, really expensive win the game on the spot spell. And that's kind of, those are the win cons. We're not really playing creatures. And then Bolas is the win con too. And I actually play this guy, like he hits the table a lot, and he's actually a decent blocker. So that's the stuff. Now we're going to go into the mana rocks. We got like 6 signets. 1, 2, 3. Not a signet, but it's a signet. 4, 5, 6. We're not playing much of the colorless mana sources because we're playing cards like Cruel Ultimatum, and this guy's got 6 symbols in his cost, and he needs 3 on his upkeep. So we're just in Cryptic Command. Like a lot of our cards are just symbol heavy. We are playing Soul Ring though. Well, too good not to ignore. And we do have a Worn Power Stone and a Thran Dynamo, and then a Firemind Vessel. And there's probably some other better ones out there, but so that's 6 signets and then 4 other mana rocks. So that's 10 mana rocks. I'll do a land count real quick. All right, I counted the lands. We're playing 37 lands, so 37 lands and 10 rocks. We got 47 sources, and we also play like Brainstorm, Ponder, Preordained. So I don't think it's been pretty smooth. So if you have a deck with similar mana ambitions, these are the numbers I'd recommend, I guess. Maybe one more land or one more mana rock, but not too far off base from this. We got a Flamekin Village. It's a tap land in this deck, but it gives Bolas haste, and that can be pretty relevant. This land can give Bolas Fear. We got some man lands, but mostly just because they aren't playable anywhere else. So if I'm going to be stuck playing tap lands, I'm going to play the 3 that can turn into creatures. The restless ones are still in standard. I also don't have that many of them, but we'll get back to that. I'm playing temples too. So this is usually where my decks seem unimpressive, is in the mana base, so that's even more tap lands. But the amount of tap lands I've playing doesn't feel great. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, you take this deck and you put the good mana base on it, and it does like kick it up a gear. But playing the bad lands in like a meta way can kind of keep the heat off your table too. So here's a tap land that adds all 3 though. We're playing 3 gain lands, which nice and symmetrical so far with all our lands. We're playing the bounce lands, which I like these ones a lot. I know they can get certain pods that can get kind of punished. You don't want to get like strip mined and stuff. And I'm playing Temple of False God too. I play a lot of lands. I actually hit the land drop count pretty reliably, and I'm trying to play really big dumb spells. So it actually works as a pretty good soul land here. And then the untapped lands, we got a Command Tower. We got a Reflecting Pool. Got Exotic Orchard. This usually at least gets something. I'm rarely ever at a pod, and it's like everyone is purely green and white. I don't think I've ever had that happen. It could, but I don't think I've ever had it happen. I don't play any shocks or surveils or fetch lands because those get played in real decks, but I used to play Legacy, so I do have the 3 appropriate duels for this. Here's a Pain Land. Here's a Sunken Hollow. It's just kind of something I had. This is a damaged one too, but yeah, it's a filler. 2 more. Wish I had I just don't have a Drowned Catacomb. And I don't buy cards with my commander decks. It just has to be stuff I've accumulated sitting around the house. That's what my commander decks get made out of. It's more fun that way. And it becomes a vicious cycle. You start buying stuff, it's like, where do you stop? You know? Some Filtery Lands, a Prismatic Vista, and Ash Barrens. And then we've got 2 of each. These are unlimited islands. The difference between unlimited and so in the borders, like an unlimited island will say tap to add. A revised island will have not the tap symbol, but the sideways T. And then 4th edition, you get the tap symbol. But to really tell the difference between unlimited and revised, you see it in the borders got like this extra layer of square to it. So when you're looking at an old giant spider or something, and you want to know if it's revised or unlimited, that's the difference, is it's got that extra square like line in it at the top. But yeah, we got some islands, some swamps, and some mountains. And yeah, that's my Nicol Bolas deck. It's a ton of fun. Yeah, I was glad to show it off. So until next year, because I probably won't play 40 solo pods of Commander again until like at least a year from now. That's kind of my Commander for the year. And I don't play Commander in town a lot just because it doesn't fit my schedule, but it is pretty easy to, after the kids are asleep or whatever, roll out formats on the fly, play a pod. Took me almost 2 months to do 40 games after I decided to go from 36 to 48 commander decks. And yeah, I'm commandered out for a while, but I had a good time. And that's really all you're trying to do when you're playing the silly format. Thanks for watching, and follow me in the next one. And feel free to comment your own commander stuff, or if you'd like to see other commander decks or whatever. Because I don't play a lot of commander, but I do enjoy it when I do play it. And I'm no slouch either. I try and be somewhat competitive. All right. Thanks for watching.